the self-awareness is probably the best help you can have. Is like, instead of just being mad at everybody and everyone, or just thinking I'm a shit vet, you look at exactly what's going on. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What caused it? Why is this? How much am I right? Is my perspective correct? You just do that on the go in the end when you've done it a lot, and it's just such a game changer.
If you don't believe it's perfectionism, what is the biggest issue? The
biggest issue is wanting to help and fix everything and everybody. So wanting to care for everybody, so making sure everything is fixed, no matter what, everything is fixed. Everybody is happy, like trying to please everybody. Boundary setting and perfectionism is a bit a part of that, because you have to set boundaries for yourself. There has to be a point where you're like, well, this is how much I can do in a day, and it doesn't matter if this journal doesn't get written today, or if these bloods don't get fully written up and sent off today. Like, it doesn't matter, you can wait. No, it's a boundary setting for yourself, for your colleagues, for your boss, for the clients, both time wise and what you're willing to do, what shifts you sign up for. Because it's a bit like, when we say you lost the battle to cancer. It's not a battle. You're not battling with diseases. Animals come in and they're little factories of biochemistry and physiology and 1,000 things going on, and you can catch some of it and some you can't, and you just do your best, and you're just a little step in the way of that animal's sickness and healing or whatever is going on. And we just think, like, I think we have this God complex of, it comes in and now I'm 100% responsible and I have to fix everything and I need to know everything. And if the owners can't afford any tests, it's still on me to cure this animal. And that's not the case at all.
Welcome to Irreplaceable Truths, where we uncover realities behind the profession. Not the filtered version, but the truths that can change lives. I'd like to introduce a colleague from the other side of the ocean, Dr. Gunila Pedersen. She once owned a clinic in Spain, worked 24/7, and ended up in the ER herself with chest pains from burnout. Most people wouldn't have walked away. She didn't. Instead, she rebuilt and now lives between Spain, Denmark, and the UK, fixing animals by night and helping vets rediscover joy by day. This one's crucial because in vet med, your perception of life is everything. Dr. Pedersen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. I just came back from a bike trip to Portugal. My husband and I have got motorbikes, so we just came back. So I was tired yesterday, but I'm back. Batteries are recharged today.
Wow. Yeah, Portugal, that is where a lot of the Americans are going to retire. That country is phenomenal. Yeah. It's the same weather as California, but the cost of living is that of Portugal.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, and it is. I'd actually we've been to bike meets before, but this time was a holiday and the coastline is just beautiful. And really nice. People, food, everything perfect. Yeah, really nice. Can highly recommend.
But you have to learn Portuguese. That's just another language.
I speak Spanish already, so it's not. So I got Babel, so I just learned the things are a bit different, so I could get by. But they speak good English, I have to say, for you Americans. So.
Oh, great. Yeah. For us Americans, there it is. Yeah. You're already starting the attitude, and we're 30 seconds in. I love it. I love it.
And the British.
So, can you give a little bit of your history as far as where you went to school and where you've worked, and then we can really dive into truly what you're doing now.
I'll try and make it brief. So I am originally Danish, and I studied the vet school in Copenhagen. Back then it was just a veterinary school. Now it's kind of part of Copenhagen University. And then I had already links to Spain, where I had lived when I was a kid. So I moved there with a Spanish husband and worked in a Spanish clinic. I started out vaccinating goats, so running up and down the Spanish hillsides, chasing goats. And then I found a place in a small animal clinic. And after a few years there, I ended up starting up my own clinic, 2 clinics with a colleague. We had that for quite a few years. And we opened it in 2008, 2009, which was when the financial crisis hit. So we really struggled. And I ended up, in that time, I then got divorced from my Spanish husband. And through a blind date, through a client in the clinic, actually, found my now British husband, who then encouraged me to start getting locum work. I think you call it relief vets, but here it's called locum in the UK, because the pay was really good compared to that in Spain. It still is. So I was doing that, and then I ended up, to make a long story short, I ended up selling my clinic in Spain and only locuming then in England. And now I work steady. I have a contract and work at a hospital in the UK 1 week a month.
Wow. So yeah, and you get to go bike riding, or you get to go motorbiking in Portugal.
Motorbiking, yeah.
Yeah. I really love your tagline. It's very bold. Helping pets by night and vets by day.
Yeah.
When did that come about?
So the whole helping vets came about when I was running the clinic in Spain. At the same time, I was a locum in the UK, and my business partner then he split out because he wanted to work with bees instead of small animals. So I had a vet working for me in Spain, and then I would go week on, week off and work in the UK while I was running the clinic, being the clinical director, manager, everything at a distance, and it was just too much. So I burned out completely. And as you mentioned in the introduction, I ended up in the ER with chest pains, absolutely thinking I was having a heart attack. And it ended up, now looking back, it was stress and anxiety and probably more a panic attack, but nobody diagnosed it back then. It was not that. I don't know. It was in 2017, 18, I experienced it. And then 2019, I sold my clinic. 2020, I think it was. And then in between 20 and 21, I had to take time off from VetMed. I took a ton of nights work in the UK to save up, to just give me money. And then thankfully, my husband was able to help me with support as well, financial support. And that year I took off so I could just completely get away from VetMed, because in my brain, I was obviously not made for it. I obviously couldn't cope. And it was just not for me. Doing that year, because I wanted then to find, out something else, what to do. And also, I had 2 teenage daughters at that point, and when you burn out and you are stressed and you're having a lot of anxiety all the time, you might struggle a bit if you have teenage kids because they will give you attitude and they will challenge you every step of the way. So I actually sought out coaching to get help to become a better mother, to be there for them, and to handle them, basically. It was not actually, I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. I just thought I need to learn how to handle teenagers. And then I found out there was so much I could change about myself that could make me see other people in other view, and that just unraveled a ton of stuff also related to VetMed.
So basically, were you seeing a coach or a therapist? Or
Coach.
A coach. Wow, I got so much to unpack from that. First off, basic question. People say the opposite of depression is energy. What would you say the opposite of burnout is?
That's a really good question. The opposite of burnout is groundedness, calm, joy in the moment, creativity. Because that is all I lacked, and everybody I coach, that's what they lack.
Now, when you were doing this crazy schedule, owning the clinic, being in the UK for a week, Spain for a week, running Spain basically virtually, did it take a toll on your relationship with your husband and your daughters?
By that time, I think the whole thing leading up to me being divorced was a big time. Was definitely a big part of that. Was definitely being already burned out and dedicating my whole life to VetMed. And definitely my youngest daughter was suffering more from me not being there and always prioritizing work, for sure.
And the coach, what were some of the tools that she gave you, or to look for, or to implement into your life, that you believe really helped you the most?
I want to emphasize that I actually didn't know I was in burnout, and that's why I didn't get a therapist either, because I didn't see that I had a problem. I thought, VetMed, that was just something I was not made for. MedVet was a problem. There was nothing wrong with me. MedVet was just what it was, and that was for other people. And about my kids, they were a problem, and I needed to learn how to handle them. And there was a coach that asked me some questions that made me change my perspective and made me see that I think the biggest thing probably was you can't keep people happy at all times. It's not very healthy, wanting everybody to be happy at all times, especially now if you have teenagers, you try and keep them happy all the time. I think you're gonna
Good
find
luck.
that.
You're going to
Yeah, good
fail
luck.
98% of the time.
Good luck with that one. So that was a big, big, big one. And then because I was really struggling with managing my time around them, even when I was off, I was still stressed around time. And I kept asking them for tools. So this was a life coach tool. So I always had different coaches. I didn't have one specific coach. And I was also like, but how do I manage time, and how do I manage people? Because I was like, how do I manage other people? No, and there was the fact, no, you need to manage yourself. You need to take responsibility for your own health, emotional health, your happiness, and your happiness cannot depend on other people's happiness. And I think a big thing as well was people pleasing. So I really struggled with having any sort of conflict with anybody. And obviously teenagers, again, you're gonna have conflict whether you want it or not. There's no way you can avoid it. And for me, conflict meant I couldn't, like, you can't please people. No, so that's when I realized the whole concept of people pleasing, which I hadn't even known before, and how detrimental that is as well to ourselves.
Did you think you were a perfectionist?
I didn't think so. It was not something I had ever thought about until much, much later when I started reading about it.
Do you believe that's one of the biggest issues that you're dealing with all your veterinary clients?
I think it's one of the issues. It's probably not the biggest one, but it's definitely a part of it.
Yeah, I believe perfection is an issue here in the States. Obviously, the whole education system's a little different. And you have to be perfect in high school. You have to be perfect in undergrad in order to get, into veterinary school. And it is a true eye-opening right after they get their diploma. I wonder what the over-under is before you get a client mad at you. Maybe 3 weeks, I would say, is when that first client really just takes off and starts yelling at you. So if you don't believe it's perfectionism, what is the biggest issue? The
biggest issue is, I think there's several. One is wanting to help and fix everything and everybody. So wanting to care for everybody, so making sure like everything is fixed, no matter what, everything is fixed. Everybody is happy, like trying to please everybody, realizing that you can't always do that. Boundary setting and perfectionism is a bit a part of that, because you have to set boundaries for yourself. There has to be a point where you're like, well, this is how much I can do in a day, and it doesn't matter if this journal doesn't get written today, or if these bloods don't get fully written up and sent off today. Like, it doesn't matter. You can wait. No, it's a boundary setting for yourself, for your colleagues, for your boss, for the clients, both time-wise and what you're willing to do, what shifts you sign up for. I did a whole episode just on because some vets feel pressurized, for example, to prescribe antibiotics. Oh, my dog always gets antibiotics for diarrhea. Now you stand there, I don't want to prescribe metronidazole for a diarrhea, but the client wants it. That's a boundary. And then you think you're doing something wrong. You start comparing yourself to other vets, and so on and so on.
How bad are online reviews over in Europe?
They are a part of it as well, for sure. I don't think they are as bad yet. But it's definitely a part of it. I think it's more Facebook groups that kind of, like, people on Facebook. I find there's a group in Norway. I had a Norwegian client that pointed it out to me because she was worried about what people. We're just talking about the whole, what do people think about you? How can you be okay with people maybe thinking whatever they want about vets? And there's a Facebook group in Norway that has 25,000 members, and all they do is just sit and slack vets off and how horrible we are and how much we charge. I mean, that's. I went in and had a look at it, and I had to like unlock very quickly because that was really depressing and upsetting.
Do you find that to be a trigger again for everything you went through, or are you able to emotionally handle it better?
I still get triggered for sure. Everything that used to trigger me will still trigger me. It's just now I take a pause and I handle it differently. I think the triggers will always be there.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. You left veterinary medicine for a year, and
yeah,
by that time, most people have moved on. How did you come back in?
There was two things. There wasn't really anything else I wanted to do, and I started missing it. I literally started the feeling of, I don't know, placing a catheter, having the excitement and working in emergencies, which I've done at that point. The responsibility of, taking on a case and working it up, and the interaction with the owners and cats. I love cats. So yeah, I just missed it. And I just started taking locum roles again, just quietly, like bit by bit, and it just started to roll.
Were the first few relief shifts you took, were they hard? Was it a hard reentry? Did you find yourself again getting re-triggered at all, or were you using your coaching to work your way through that?
I was in a completely different place. I was just in a completely different place. So I just didn't react the same. Like the trigger would come in and I would notice it, but it would just roll off me like water off a duck. Completely different. And it's better and better, right? Because I still have things I work through. So I had like complaint, and then I got coached on that, and then I can see, oh, I'm falling back into this pattern. So I go through it, and I just keep growing as well. So I'm getting better and better at it, because now when something happens, I know straight away, oh, this I need to take to my coach, this I need to coach myself on. I can sit through this, it's fine. I can quickly see where I'm at. I think the self-awareness is probably the best help you can have. Is like, instead of just being mad at everybody and everyone, or just thinking I'm a shit vet, you look at exactly what's going on. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What caused it? Why is this? How much am I right? Is my perspective correct? You just do that on the go in the end when you've done it a lot, and it's just such a game changer.
Now that you're actually a coach, what's the one thing you wish you could teach to all veterinary students before they're out into practice?
Oh, that's probably a list of things. One is what I had wished I had known is probably, and it comes a bit back to perfectionism, but is this thinking that you can fix everything, and when you don't fix it, there's something wrong with you. Because there's this, it's a bit like, when we say you lost the battle to cancer. It's not a battle. You're not battling with diseases. Like animals come in and they're little factories of biochemistry and physiology and 1,000 things going on, and you can catch some of it and some you can't, and you just do your best, and you're just a little step in the way of that animal's sickness and healing or whatever is going on. And we just think, like, I think we have this God complex of, it comes in and now I'm 100% responsible and I have to fix everything and I need to know everything. And if the owners can't afford any tests, it's still on me to cure this animal, and that's not the case at all.
You also say you are not your thoughts. Can you break that down to everyday veterinary understanding?
So when you are in the clinic, and a thought that can come up is like, oh, I have to do everything. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I haven't been found out yet. Like, how do they still let me in? I should be better at this. How do I not know this? Another vet could have done this better than me. All those thoughts, they don't define you, and they are not actually true most of the time. And people confound thoughts with facts as well. So if I say, for example, oh, I'm just not really good at stomach torsions. What does that even mean? That doesn't mean anything. It's not a fact. It's just like, maybe I've done 2. I would like to have more experience in them, would be a more correct thing to say. But people will say, I'm not really good at ultrasounds, I'm not really good at this, or I wish I knew more, but they don't define it. And then they say that's just a fact, when it's actually just thoughts running around making you feel like crap for no reason.
When you say, the stomach, let's talk about stomach torsion surgical correction. The biggest complaint at least I hear nowadays, is that a lot of these earlier career professionals don't even want to touch that. They feel as if they are trained to refer it. Are you having the same problem in Europe?
Not personally. Like, I'm happy to do it whenever it comes up. And I always say to the new guys coming to the clinic, they can always call me for a video conference, whatever, if they need support. We normally don't refer them. No, I wouldn't say so.
Are there a lot of specialty clinics over there?
We have big referral centers, yeah.
And so, but you don't feel what is their cost versus your cost? Like a regular clinic versus a big referral center?
Let me see. A typical thing I would refer would be a spinal case or a really complex internal medicine case where I'm like, no, this is going to need ICU, it's going to need a lot of tests. I just can't work quick enough, and that it needs like a specialist eyes. I would normally refer, and I think the consult, so we charge for a day consult about 58 pounds maybe. At night I charge 285 pounds for the consult. Their consult fee is probably around about 600, I think it is. But
Wow.
when I send a typical, obviously always out of hours, always weekends when this shit happens, but a spinal case, for example, that has to go, uh, let's say a French bulldog that can't walk and it's not super urgent, they can wait until Monday. It's still gonna be between the MRI and or CT, whatever they do, even before operation. I normally get a quote about 5 to 6 grand.
Wow.
Pounds. Yeah. So
Pounds.
it's like, it's normally only for people that have insurance. But if they're not insured, it's a big stretch to send them. It's always thousands and thousands.
Is the cost of care skyrocketing over there too?
The veterinary care,
Yes.
there's a lot of talk around it. My hospital in particular, I'm not trying to advertise for it. I have no interest in getting more clients, but I just want to drink tea and eat cake all night. So I'm not trying to entice people in. But so our prices are reasonable. I haven't seen them go up. I have heard of some other branches, other like big names. They are quite expensive now. I think the price has gone up, but whether it has gone unreasonable up, I don't know. I can't say.
So if you're coaching a veterinarian that's having a problem and their biggest problem is perfectionism, how do you coach that out of them without diminishing the gold standard of care?
I don't coach it out of them as such. We will question it, right? So for example, the other day I was coaching someone who had ended up referring an animal, and she got the animal in, and it had been seen by 3 different vets, one after the other, that had all kind of made really different approaches at it. So it's very for me. I prefer when an animal comes in that I'm the first to see it, so I can make my own assumptions. I find it really difficult when 3 other vets have already written notes and done stuff, and I find it just gets a muddle. But she had seen this case, and she suspected a septic peritonitis, but she couldn't find any free fluid on abdomen, not enough to justify it. She put it on fluids, and after 2 hours, instead of improving, it deteriorated. So at that moment, she decided to refer. And she said to me, "Oh, if I had only, I should just have referred it straight away." And I said, "But you didn't have enough data. The 2 hours on fluid was just another data you had. Now you had enough data to really confirm your suspicion, and then you referred." So it's showing them the truth. Like, she's telling herself a lie, which is, I should have referred it, but she didn't have enough to go on to refer it at that point with what she had. So it's those lies we're telling ourselves, right? And to me, that's not breaking a gold standard. The gold standard is, I try to treat, I try to diagnose, and I just keep going until I reach a point where I can't do it anymore, and now I'm out of my depth, or now I know enough that it needs referring. And another vet I had a consult with was and she was in medicine, but she was working at a specialty referral center, and she was writing notes. I think we talked about this in our prior conversation. As I told you, this case, so she was literally coming home at 9 at night because she was pushing herself. She was writing her notes until 2 o'clock in the morning, and she was coming to me for coaching because she was mad at her dad that was coming to visit on a Friday, and she didn't have time because she already had 17 journals she needed to write for the Saturday. I mean, it was completely insane, and that is not gold standard. That is like, that's just being way too perfectionistic, and she's not going to have any standard or any care soon because she's just going to burn herself out. That's not a way of living.
And that goes back to the boundaries too, right? You got to say,
Yeah,
I've done as
exactly.
much as I can today. I'll
Yeah.
pick this back up tomorrow. But that's easier said than done. How do you, what recommendations you give to those that leave that hospital, but all 20 of those cases they saw that day are still going on in their brain till 2 a.m.?
Yeah. So you really need to take case by case, and that's why we really like coaching, because people can come to me and they might say, "Oh, I'm a perfectionist. I can't use that. I need you to tell me what happened today, what happened yesterday, what's going on." And then we take case by case. And it could be, for example, let's say this case before where she still beat herself up over these 2 hours and fluid that she lost time with the dog, So we would look at that and say, "But why do you think that's? Why are you beating yourself up over it? Why?" And make them realize case by case. And once you start recognizing the patterns you have, that's when you can then start applying it to all the patients. So if somebody came to me and said, I was lying to like 2 o'clock after this surgery, I wasn't sure if it was going to bleed through, I didn't know, whatever, I was worried about him coming back next day and something would have happened, then we would go through, okay, so what makes you think it was going to bleed? Or maybe the sutures. Okay, so did you not tie enough? Did you not, like, really keep questioning this vague, I didn't do enough kind of thing? No, what exactly is it your brain is telling you?
Yeah, well, we all have that one surgery. Obviously over here more than there, it's the spay, right? That you just, 100, I'm going to go pounds. I'm sorry. So let's say let's go 65 kilogram lab that's 3 years old that comes in for a spay. And I mean, you worry because you're like, that vessel's in that fat somewhere. It's a guessing game. Like, yeah, I ligated all that fat and there I didn't see any blood, but you always worry. It's the worst. It's the absolute worst.
The worry, that is something I work on with clients that tend to do that. And I don't know why. I think it's because we do coaching, a combination of things that happen, and they get over it quite quickly because they can see the worry is not helpful. Do you have so we have now in the UK a breed called XL bullies, which have now been abolished. So you can't, it's just this big blob of a dog, like fighting dog, that some people and kids were killed. So now they have said you can't breed them and you can't have them and you have to spay
Bull
them.
Mastiff?
No, it's called XL bullies. It's just something they made up. It's some crossbreed between I don't even know. Big head, big jaws. I don't know. They're big dogs, but for some reason these dogs have a tendency to bleed a lot. I don't know exactly what Brand factor it is they haven't got, but they're just known for when you spay them or neuter or castrate, they bleed a lot, which is quite unfortunate because all of them have to be operated according to the government. So we did have a female dog come back in emergency hours that had been operated earlier. And I read through the notes and there was no note saying that it was seeping or bleeding. And she had a lot of free fluid in the abdomen. And I had to make the decision, do we open her up and check or do we just wait? And that's a big decision to make, right? Because if there's if the suture has slipped, you need to open up, you need to close. If there's an ovarian artery, uterine artery, it's not good news. But if it's seeping, opening up is worse, right? Because now you make it bleed even more. So I had to make that decision, and of course it worried me. But I spoke through it with the owner, so I said, "Look, this is what I suspect. We're going to look at this, and this." So we looked at her blood pressure, we looked at, her vitals, we just kept checking to see if anything changed, and she stayed stable. So I assumed it was a seep, and we didn't go in and operate, and she was okay. But it's trusting yourself and also trusting that you can be honest with the owners, you can talk to them about your worry, and you can say, this is why I make this decision. No?
Right. Communication is key. Always.
Yeah.
How many
How
many issues do you deal with because of a lack of poor communication?
So I don't deal with a lot now because with the coaching, I feel so balanced in myself. I feel grounded. I am happy to accept if I made any mistakes because I don't make it mean that I'm a crap vet. I always explain my shortcomings. If I say, look, I can do this, I haven't done it before, or I've done very few of these. If you're happy for me to go ahead, I explain what I do and why. And because I don't have that imposter syndrome anymore, I don't worry about having to cover up things I don't know, which it sounds terrible, like people are covering up things they don't know. That's not the case, but we think we don't know it, but we actually do. So we're always trying to look maybe more capable than we are. And then there's always that fear of, am I going to be found out? Which I don't have because I don't have to hide anything.
Do you think a lot of veterinarians are scared to say, hey, I haven't done this procedure? Do you think veterinarians, if they admit that makes them look like a weaker veterinarian?
I think specifically saying this procedure I haven't done before, I think a lot of people would be okay with that. It's more, I think, the whole diagnostics when you're kind of stuck, you don't know what the next step is, and the owners are not giving you enough clues and you don't have money to continue, and then say, I don't really know where to take this now. I have not seen this before. I don't know. Saying I don't know, I think is very big for us. We would rather we want the answer. We want to be able to give it on a silver plate to the owner and say, and this is what you got to do.
Yeah, it's an art to come up with those answers, especially when you do have clients that come in on a limited budget. But
Yeah.
the one thing I always try to tell, at least all the veterinarians that I've mentored over the years, is it eventually will come to you. You just got to let it get there. Basically, it's like overnight, boom, veterinary medicine is like back of your hand. Doses, drugs, procedures, you've seen enough itchy dogs that you know exactly what you're going to do. You've seen enough diarrhea cases that you know exactly how you're going to bucket it and what you need to look for. When people come to you, are they mostly young, early in their career, or are they later in their career?
They're late in their career, because that's the fallacy we have. Is as young vets we think, okay, so once I've been in it a few years, I will have the experience. So the reason I'm feeling bad now is because I'm young and unexperienced. I just need more experience and take more courses and so on, and educate myself more, and then I'll feel okay. But then 20 years later, they're still feeling the same, and that's when they realize, okay, so maybe it's not the experience and more education I need. It's actually, I think I need to a mindset reset, because surely this cannot be normal. So the young vets are actually not that bad, because they realize they're nervous for good reason, because they don't actually know what they're doing that well. We don't when we come out, right? There's a lot we don't know. So
when you say mindset reset, is that like going back and starting from zero?
no, it's just looking for those patterns that are sabotaging your mental health, your emotional health, your happiness, your joy, and just keep freaking you out, right? So you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, or they're always worrying that something will happen. Somebody will complain. Somebody will realize you didn't know what you're doing. Somebody will see that you're not that great. I do see a lot of vets that are actually really brilliant. I see vets that I think, because I'm not a super vet, there's nothing I'm particularly good at. I'm really good at communication. So owners love me because I am really good at listening. I see them, I hear them, and I can explain thoroughly. But I'm not a special vet. I see vets that are much more brilliant than me, and they are beating themselves up for like the most minor things they didn't get, or they think they didn't get. So your happiness as a vet has nothing to do with how good you are at all. And that's the reset, right? Is realizing that right now where you are, you can perfectly be happy, and you can go out and enjoy your free time. You don't need to freak out all the time.
Okay, I'm going to put you through some coaching scenarios. I want to see how you would handle this. The clinic closes at 6 p.m. and you have a pissed off client that comes in yelling at you at 5:57.
Okay, so am I coaching the vet, or am I just dealing
You're coaching
with
the vet. You're coaching the vet. Like, how am I supposed to handle that situation?
So if they're bringing in a dying animal at that point, you would have to deal with the animal. But if it's just the client, then I would set a firm boundary and say, I'd be happy to listen to you. Let me give you an appointment, and you can come back, or you can send me an email.
Oh, there we go. I love it.
Yeah.
Technology. Technology
Yeah.
works great. Like,
Yeah.
put your pissed offness into writing, so I'll always be able to go back and read it.
That's a good one, but I would also be happy to see someone, just not when we're closing. There's no point in doing that.
That's part of the boundaries that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you coach someone through a mental problem if they had a euthanasia that went horribly wrong?
I would ask, why did it go wrong? What was the wrongness about it? You know, was it that it started screaming, or you couldn't place the catheter, or did everybody thought it was dead, and then it did those horrible breaths where it looks like it's fighting for air, but it's long gone? Because I've done them all. I've been through them all.
And just a little mentoring tip: dexdomitor makes them do that. If you pre-medicate with Torb and Ace, they don't butorphanol and acepromazine. They don't do that. Okay. But if you use dexdomitor, they seem to have those agonal breaths. I'm just, and that, I don't know why. I don't know the science behind it. It's just experience, and I'll put that out there right now. Sorry.
Thank you for that. Yeah, exactly. And it's always like I might tell 4 people in a row about the agonal breathing, and then it doesn't happen. And I'm like, okay, this one will be fine. The one I don't say it about, it does it in the most inopportune moment, and it's just so horrible. So that would be horrible, right? Or you couldn't place the catheter, or they started screaming, and then you had to sedate, and sedatation didn't work. So let's say it's that, and they are feeling bad about it. So I would ask, like, what were they expecting? Were they expecting a nice, peaceful thing? And why would that always be the norm, right? And how much do they think they were responsible for this, and what did they do wrong here? Like, what was their responsibility in it? And look at that. What would they have done different if they had known? And often when people say to me, this and this happened, and when we go back, what could you have done? What would you have done differently with what you knew in that moment, or even sometimes what you know now? And it's like, well, I couldn't have done anything different. It's just how it went.
Hindsight's 2020, though. Like, you could always look back and think of how you could have done things better, and that's why we call it practicing medicine.
Yeah.
Because you learn. Hopefully, you learn from your mistakes. If you want to beat yourself up, it has to be for 10 seconds. But you need to learn, because the more you beat yourself up over mistakes, in my opinion, it's not a learning situation for yourself.
There's two things in this that I teach. So one is, when you make a decision, no matter what it is, so that can be leaving vet med, vaccinating at a certain age, whatever decision you make, really analyze why you make that decision and be really, really happy with the reason behind it. Because if you're happy with the reason behind it, then the consequences are always out of your reach, aren't they? You have no idea when you do what you do. So let's say you make a decision to go in and operate on an animal because you think it has a foreign body. And then you go in and it doesn't have a foreign body. You still have to like the reason why you went in. So I, for example, had this case. I had a night where I came in and everybody were like, "Oh, this animal's got a foreign body. We've scanned it. Can you operate on it tonight?" And I'm looking at this animal, and you get that feeling. I don't think I should operate on this dog. I do not think so. I rescanned, I did everything, and I phoned the owner and I said, I would like to make the decision to not operate based on these and these reasons. And I said, it's possible that if we go in, not operating could be bad, but also so went through all the reasons. And then in the end, it wasn't anything. But say it was a foreign body and he had died, I still have to stand by the reason why I chose not to. So that is one thing where you can protect yourself from your future self being mad at you, because you think of, like, in a year when I look back, am I happy with the reason behind this? Did I go through the reasons? And the second is evaluating. I love for my clients, I'll make them evaluate everything. So for example, time management. Okay, so you set in buffer time to make sure you actually had time. Did you not do it, or did you do it? Like, evaluate at the end of the week. Cases that went well or cases that went wrong, evaluate. So I always teach, like, evaluate first from a positive perspective. So what are 3 things that went well? What are 3 things that didn't go so well? And what are maybe 1 or 2 things I would change for next time? Because then, for example, the fat Labrador spay, let's say that you've had a few quote unquote bad cases, and now you're panicking about spaying. I'm not good at spaying, I don't want to do spays, and you just end in this negative spiral where you panic more and more and you do less and less. But if you say to yourself, I want to get better at them, right? And then every time you've done one, you sit down and you say, what did I do well? Okay, so I didn't panic when it started bleeding. I found one ovary before somebody had to come in and help me with the other one, whatever it is, no? And what didn't go so well? Well, I didn't count the swabs before I put my, like, whatever it is. And then what would I do different? If you do that, you can only get better and you don't beat yourself up.
I would have charged 3 times as much. That's what I would have done better.
Yeah.
I mean, because those fat Labrador spays, that will take it more out of you than a emergency splenectomy, an intestinal anastomosis, because they everyone puts the freaking adjective in front of it of routine, and that's the worst word to use. Because if anything's routine and you fuck it up, then that really will destroy you. So a spay is a spay, and no 2 are the same.
Yeah.
Take home message on that one.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, third coaching moment. You saw 30 clients in a day. 29 of them loved you. 1 of them just totally ripped you a new one. How do you coach veterinarians not to really, which is a big problem in veterinary medicine, not to just sit there and think about that one?
Yeah. So one bit of that is, in general, being okay with people being wrong about you. That is just something we need to be okay with. Like, somebody think, oh, you're a shit vet because you couldn't XYZ, or you're a shit vet because you didn't give me antibiotics, or you're a shit vet because, like, being okay with them thinking that. So not letting people's opinion affect us that much. And I also, just like in evaluation, you teach your brain to first look at what you did well. I also do teach them to reevaluate and and force your brain to remember the 29 people that did like you. So what did they say? What did they do? Because the reason we do this, right, the reason it affects us as much comes back to when we were living in tribes, right? It was so important. When you were living in that cave, you wanted to be good at finding the right nuts or running after the mammoth, because you did not want to not be useful for the tribe and get kicked out and then have no food, no shelter, no partner, right? So that's the inner. So if we feel like somebody gets angry at us or think that we're useless or bad in some way, it's still that primal fear that comes up. And that's something we need to keep readjusting, because we're not living in tribes anymore, right? We're not surrounded forever by only 30 to 100 people we know intimately. We have so many strangers coming into our life, and we need to reteach our brain that everybody's opinion are not valid. And also, I have a lot of points on this, but like, your opinion about yourself is so much more important than any other person, and that is something you have to remember. So I teach my clients to do thank me speech. I don't know if you've seen Snoop Dogg's YouTube video where he thanks himself for reaching where he went, where he's all he's achieved. So I teach my clients to do that. I teach my clients to do an accomplished list, everything they accomplished. I teach them to really refocus their brain on everything they are good at and how much they have achieved, how amazing they are. So when somebody says something, it doesn't land as hard, because, what
They're
does that person
strangers.
know about me?
I love
They're
that. I love
strangers.
what you said. I love that. There's strangers coming into your life. They don't know you.
No, they
And
don't.
yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, the problem is also, I mean, do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I just learned a new thing called ambivert from Stephen from the Diary of a CEO, which is you like being with a lot of people very shortly and maybe exposed to this. For example, you're doing I love doing a workshop, but then afterwards, I do need a lot of time to recharge. I don't like small talk and being with a lot of people at a big table forever. That's not me. So I'm probably an introvert, but I do like intensive periods with people.
And you know what? I've actually found myself turning into that the older I get. Like I have no problem doing the back alley Sally out of a cocktail party or a dinner, which basically is you sneak out the back and no one knows who's left, because there is only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Do you think? Yeah. I'm wondering if it has to do with the fact that day in, day out, we're there talking to strangers that don't know us, and we're getting them to know us and trust us and like us. I love that.
It takes a lot. Yeah. It takes a lot to, and I know a few vets I have coached have been exactly say like 30 consults in one day, where you're trying to guess what they want, right? You're trying to guess, and that guesswork I kind of leave out now. And I think that's again comes back to, we want to look like we know everything and we can do everything and we understand everything. It's like not assume anything. Like sometimes I feel like I don't have chemistry with a client, and I will literally ask them, so why did you come here tonight? Like I will just ask them, because I don't know if they came to kill this cat or they came to like try and get me to diagnose it. And I'm not going to make any assumptions here, because like, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. I've learned so.
Oh yeah, I get that. I used to get that. Oh, we usually only see Dr. X.
Yeah.
Then why did you make an appointment with me?
Yeah. Yeah, or just ask openly, like, yeah, why? What do you want from me, basically? So I'll ask it. I don't try to guess anymore at what people want. I don't try to guess how much money they have. Don't try to guess what they want to spend their money on. I don't try to guess, how close they are to this animal, because you just don't know. And it's a huge mental toll. And because I don't do that, I don't get as tired, because I don't have to work so hard. I just ask them,
Did you ever hate being a vet?
Yeah. That year I burned out, I definitely hated it.
Did you hate calling yourself a veterinarian, or did you hate working in clinics?
I didn't hate calling myself a vet. I just felt a lot of resentment towards people, because running my own clinic, especially as well, I had a lot of people, again, me wanting to fix everything and take care of everything and fix people's problems. I ended up having a lot of people that didn't pay. So there was a specific case where I remember I literally took this, we didn't have a hospital, I was just my own clinic. And I took this bloody Pavo puppy home, for Christmas. I just spoiled the whole Christmas. I had it in the bathroom, set up a little mini hospital at home so I could be at home with my family while trying to take care of this puppy. They ended up dying, and it cost me hundreds. And this guy, he never paid, never said thank you, nothing, And so this trying to fix everybody and sort everybody's problems for them, because he hadn't, he bought it too young, he didn't vaccinate. That was his problem, right? But I made it mine, and making it my problem meant that then I had a lot of resentment towards people, because why were they asking so much of me?
And I try to teach that. I try to teach that to a lot of veterinarians as well, because clients come in and they're like, "Man, I have no money. Do you have a credit card?" No, I can't. I can't. They won't accept me for a credit card. Do you have care credit? No, I can't get accepted for care credit. But they expect the bank of whatever animal hospital to flip the bill. And
Yeah.
and it's really hard, because as the business owner, as I was myself, I guess it was a weakness I had. I wanted to make sure I helped every animal that needed help.
Same.
And that was a very hard boundary for me to put up. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you had the same thing as well. You brought that puppy home, you were doing
Yeah.
everything you could on Christmas. And, I would have done the same. I'm just going to say I
Yeah.
would have done the same. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as a business owner, with the entrepreneur hat on, the more times you get burned by clients doing that, it destroys the possibility of you doing it for clients down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I felt sorry for everybody coming through the door at my hospital because they can't pay the consult, well, the hospital would end up closing, wouldn't it? They wouldn't be able to pay me, turn the lights on, have a CT scanner, because it has to be paid for, right? So I don't believe in extortionate prices, but I believe that you have to charge for your services. I think the experience we have, all the years we study, all those extra CPDs we have to do, all the 3 hours working, all that time, all that toll, all the extra little things we have to learn, communication, empathy, whatever, not getting paid for that's crazy. How much do lawyers, accountants, get paid? And I don't
Human
think we should get
doctors.
paid any less. Human doctors,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Plumbers
don't even know, but
plumbers make more than us
sorry?
sometimes. Plumbers,
Yeah.
electricians, they make more than us
Yeah.
sometimes. Don't get me wrong, we
Yeah.
need
And
plumbers, we need electricians.
yeah.
Unfortunately, we do need lawyers, but I agree with you. We're held to a different standard when it comes to profession, because we're supposed to
Yeah.
have compassion.
Yeah.
That's the one that always gets me, is like, "Oh, you're going to charge me? What happened to your compassion, Dr. G?" And I'm like,
Yeah. Compassion is going to pay my bills.
but now I have a saying. I go, "You're a stranger coming into my life and you don't know me." That's all.
Yeah.
What a great saying. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. I hope
Yeah,
it's not trademarked.
definitely. But I think as well, and I remember there was one night, one of the very first times I worked in the UK, and I had just, I still had my own clinic. And I remember being in a clinic that was very, very busy, and there was a lot of people coming in was through some charity that they always seemed to like fool the rules so they could get this help anyway. And this family came in, and I was still young and stupid, so I didn't ask beforehand how much money they had. And I did a few things, and then they were like, "Oh, we can't pay. Can we pay later?" And they were just like, they really annoyed me because they stood all their phones were better than me. They had better shoes than me. I'd see the cars parked outside. I'm like, no, this is a priority issue. You're not prioritizing wanting to pay for your pet because you want to spend your money on something else. And I literally made these people all empty their wallets and their pockets. I was like dragging them on. I think I got 45 pounds out of them. I was so pissed because I was like, it's not that you don't have money. You had different priorities. Don't call me, a money bloodsucker, because like you spend it on something else. That is not my problem.
I love it. Wow. This was before or after you burned out?
This was before I burned out.
Oh. There's a little bit of rage behind that one.
That was rage, definitely. I'm like, you are just taking the piss now. I'm not having it.
Do you think most vets that see you now secretly regret their career choice?
Some do. Yeah, some do. When they start with me. But I will say I have not had 1,000 clients or 100 clients, but everybody I have had have gone back to clinic. They have started working in clinics again. When they came to me, some of them wanted to leave. somebody wanted to be like a diving instructor instead, or do something completely different. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we only live one life. I think you should do exactly what you want. I just don't think leaving vet med because you hate it, I think that's a shame, right? I want to do other things on vet med. That's why I only work 1 week a month now, because I love my coaching and I love traveling. But I would miss it, if I became so busy as a coach that I stopped working as a vet, then I would miss it, because I think it's fun and I love it. But I don't want to leave because I hate vet med. It's just because I think I can do better by helping more vets staying in the profession than I can do as one person. If it's like, being a vet for me is like the fishing rod, right? But if I'm a coach, I can teach everybody to fish, so that's what I want to do. But I don't want to leave vet med because I hate it. I think it's like being in a relationship, right? If you're in a relationship that's not working, you want to sort yourself out first. You want to see, how much is my responsibility, how much is my partner's responsibility, and really get clear lines, learn to set boundaries. And then once you sort yourself out, then decide if you want to leave your relationship, right? And you might love it, or maybe you're just not made for each other. But don't do it out of like, oh, this is not working.
Yeah, I think you're a lot like me. You're looking for fulfillment outside veterinary medicine, hence you took up the coaching. And I'm the same way. I got out of veterinary medicine, doing relief shifts, here and there, just dabbling, just keeping a pulse on what's going on. But I don't find veterinary medicine is giving me the fulfillment that I'm looking for. So is fulfillment a form of regret, or is that just me saying I need to move on, try to find something else as well?
But that's depends, right? Because if your reason is, so when you go to work, if you're there at work thinking, oh, I'd rather be doing something else, unless, of course, you have your shitty case, you always want to be doing something else. There's always those cases where we're like, I just want to work in a bakery right now, right? I think we've all been there. But if you consistently every day you're hating it, I think that is something we need to work on. Then that is something you would want to work on and see, why do I shouldn't hate, like, you shouldn't hate it, like that's not a good thing. But if, like, for example, I just love doing a lot of different things. I still, like, I want to open a pancake house. I do MMA fighting, I do bike riding, I've done belly dancing, I travel, I learn language. I just want to live life to its maximum. And only being a vet is just, I mean, I've been in it for over 20 years, so I just want to do something else as well now. But not because I want to get away from vet med. That's the difference.
Yeah, I can't get away from vet med as well. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I love the profession. I think the profession's incredible. But it just, I don't know. I don't know, with the amount of corporates that have come in and the cost of care shift, and just, I think, right before COVID and especially during COVID, how clients' interactions have changed dramatically. I just don't know. I find myself still going and doing these relief shifts, and like 6-7 hours in, like thinking in my head, how the heck do I get, what excuse do I come up with to get out of here? Even though I have like 3 hours left. But it got so bad before I retired that I would be in an exam room and I would break out in a cold sweat and my heart rate would elevate, and I would be thinking, how do I get out of this room? I don't want to be in here anymore. I got to get out of this room. I got to get out of here. And that's when I knew it was time for me. But I was 33 years into working within a veterinary clinic, which is a solid career. But so that's how I knew. And it scares me when I go back into clinics, because again, I missed it just like you. I miss talking to the clients. I miss working with the animals. I miss solving those cases that came in that saw 3 other doctors, right? And you're looking for the needle in the haystack, like, what did they miss? I miss those things, but I don't miss the actual being in the clinic itself. Does that make sense?
I think so, but I think that's what could happen. What could be happening there is the confirmation bias, right? Because once you think, I don't like this, I don't want to be in a veterinary clinic, or some interaction with the owners, or some specific, like, some people describe it like Groundhog Day, like, I remember talking to a vet, and he said, like, everything is, it's just like one conversation, the exact same in, day out, and it's exactly the same thing they come with. And that's not true, right? Because for sure, like, every week I see something different. I don't believe, I've been in this career for over 20 years. I've done a ton of hours, and every week I see something where I'm like, what the heck is this? And I've never seen it before. I'm like, what, how is that even possible? So I know that every animal is different and all the owners are different. For sure, some of them can sound a bit the same, you know, when they are like, the husband and the wife are standing there, and the wife is like, and then they have fish on Thursday, and the husband is right, but he ate. No, he didn't eat. You know, you just have those, and there's like this sense of deja vu for a second, and you have some of them, but it's not every single one of them. So when we experience that, it's because we're telling ourselves that this is going to happen, and then our brain only sees that. So it's a bit like when you want to have children, all you see is prams and adverts for nappies. When you think all the clients and all the cases are the same and it's just going to be boring, that's all you're going to see. You're going to miss the sparks.
How do you have people deal with a case that went incredibly wrong?
So first of all, evaluate it. Like I said, so evaluate, okay, what did you do right in this case? What went wrong exactly? And what would you do different next time? And then looking at the decision making before the case. So what were the decisions?
Have them walk through the tree verbally with you?
Yeah, so see, so why did you decide to do this? Because I think often, because we honestly, I saw a podcast, there was with I think it was Jay Shetty and this very famous, oh, what's his name? A chubby, he's a comedian, and he's a singer. He's just one of those comedians in cars or something, a British anyway thing. But he said, you cannot know the consequences of any of your actions. You just cannot know. And because you can't know, because you literally cannot know if this animal has something else going on. You cannot know if the owners lied to you. You cannot know. It's a factory, right? There's so many processes going on in the body, and you cannot know the consequences of what you're doing. And that's why you have to look at what was your decision making going in. And often they forget that. They forget why they made that decision. They only see the consequences. So when a case goes terribly wrong, it's because we're looking at the consequences of your actions. If it was your actions, first of all, that caused whatever went wrong. So let's say they did, but what were your decisions? Can you stand by them even if it then went wrong? What did you miss, and is it reasonable that you missed it? Would other people maybe also have missed it?
And sometimes things just dramatically happen. There's nothing you could have done. Like that animal that passes away during the routine castration or routine spay. It happened. It happens.
Yeah.
You know, granted, if it happens often, then we definitely need to have a conversation, but it happens. And again, we've all been there. We've all been through it. And again, it's a beat yourself up. You should sit down and figure out, okay, what could I have done differently? But sometimes there's nothing you would have done differently.
No. And it's medicine, right? It is medicine. And sometimes, I mean, I talk to humans that have things going on, you know, and the amount of time that people don't know what's wrong. My daughter, I was having a night shift. And at 4:00 in the morning, my youngest daughter calls me. They're 21, 23 now. My youngest daughter called me. Don't freak out, Mom. But you know, big sister is in hospital and they think it's appendicitis. They went in and they operated for appendicitis. She didn't have appendicitis. She had this most random peritonitis. Just peritonitis for no reason. And I kept looking for answers. I was like, you have to scan her. You're like, what the hell? And I flew home, took plane, train, automobile, got there, demanded to see a doctor, tried to speak, and they had no answers for me. They never found an answer. They never found out why she had peritonitis for no reason, you know. So, and I looked at the hospital, everything they had available, you know, and in Denmark, we have free healthcare. So, like, there was no money, you know, in the way of diagnosing. She was too late. There was nothing missing, and they couldn't diagnose it. We still to this day don't know how she got peritonitis for no reason. So that kind of helps me as well to see that sometimes our standards are just way too high. Like, we want an answer always, and sometimes you just don't get it. And human doctors seem to be okay with it. So
when you have veterinarians say, hey, I want to leave this profession, but everyone's saying I want to leave clinics, but everyone says I'm wasting my degree. What do you
Mm,
say to them?
well, do you think that your degree is wasted? Like, what? Why is it wasted? Wasted on what? What does it even mean to waste your degree? I personally don't think the degree is ever wasted. Even if you studied and then never touched an animal, you still have learned a ton that you would never have learned. I think staying in a job you hate is
Chances are
wasting
you
your
forget it
life.
though. You'll forget it
But
though.
you, yeah, but isn't it true that vet school is, I don't know how it's in the States, but when I did it in Denmark, it was pretty magical and it was life changing for me. It changed me as a person, I must say. And I would say, what is worse, like leaving the profession and wasting your degree, or staying if you hate it and waste your life? I mean, I would rather waste my degree in any case, but I do not think the degree is ever wasted.
Do you believe people don't go seeking coaching because it will make them feel weak or look weak?
I think that's one. I think there's probably a lot of people like me that didn't even know they were in burnout. They probably leave and never realize that burnout is a thing. If they're lucky enough to come across a podcast like this or some article or some social media post talking about burnout, they may realize it. But I think half of them probably don't even know. They just think that there's something wrong with them, and they can't cope with it anymore. It's just something is wrong with them. So that's probably half of them. And others, I think if we say a third probably think that they can't be helped because it's how they are. Just how they are. They're broken and they just burn out and they can't be fixed. And then there's a lot that think that that are ashamed, no, of asking for any support because it's just not the done thing.
If a veterinarian's listening right now and they feel stuck, can you give them 3 little tools or tips to help them get going again?
Yeah, for sure. The first thing what I did for years and years to get me out of the stuckness was journaling. Because no matter how much you think that you know what you're thinking, when you're in your own brain, you don't see it. You're just stuck in the same 30 thoughts that are just spiraling in and out, in and out, and out, and you're never going to get anywhere. The only way you're going to realize what you're doing to yourself and exactly where you are and get a perspective is by writing it down every day. When you feel bad or you feel whatever you're feeling, like, okay, I'm feeling, say, anxious, I'm mad, why? And write it down. It's the only way you're going to see exactly what is going on for you. So that is my first tool. So that's self-awareness. The second thing as well is feeling your feelings. And I know that sounds and it's something all vets is just terrible at because we're all in our head, right? We are problem solving, we are taking action, we're forever like solution, this is how you do things. And a lot of times when I sit a vet down and speak to them and they tell me something horrible happened and I say, okay, so how are you feeling, or how did that make you feel? They tell me more thoughts. Like, we are so out of touch with our bodies, and that's why a lot of us end up with like stomach ulcers or weird joint pain or chronic migraine or weird symptoms, right? Because we're not respecting our bodies and we're not even feeling what we're feeling. So I sit my vets down and I take them through a feeling exercise where they have to say, just do a body scan, find what the feeling is. They have to describe it to me. So that's some exercises. So any like somatic things, like yoga, for example, is great as well, just to get in touch with your body. I know people that do yoga and you do hip openers, and then people just cry for 3 days because they like for first time of feeling that thing. So that is a really good one. And then the third tips is absolutely get a coach or a therapist to help you. I think it's really difficult if you're stuck. To get out if you don't get someone to help you get a perspective on your life, because you just, like I always say, you can't read the label from inside the bottle, and you're just going to keep going in your own circles unless you're incredibly good and consistent and journaling, which is already hard when you are in burnout, right? Because you're, why would I waste time on that? No, I write all these journals over here.
Exactly. Well, it's time to read what you wrote. If you
Yeah,
have time to write
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone if they said coaching's no more than expensive common sense?
So coaching is external perspective is somehow, I compare it a bit to if you sat down on the couch, you and me, and we look at your brain. What is your brain doing? Let's look at it together and pick it apart. I see it as unbundling. So often when we are still stuck in our own thoughts and the same patterns, it's like, I don't know, you might know, but your wife might know, like if you have necklaces you just keep putting in a drawer, and then you go, oh, I want to put that red necklace on, match this dress, you take it out and just like this bundle. I don't know if your wife ever said to you, can you help me untangle this? So that's kind of your thought, right? But coaching, what it does is helping untangle everything and put out, and you have a picture of what's going on, and you can make decisions, you can make informed decisions. I feel as well, when you're feeling really anxious, if you're feeling really upset and you're feeling really, really bad, it's really difficult to offload on friends and family because they're going to feel sorry for you. You don't want, so say if you're really burned out and feeling terrible, you don't want to tell your wife because now she feels sorry for you. She's going to feel upset for you. She's going to want to try and fix you, and she doesn't know how to fix you because obviously she's not, trained for that, and she'll just going to say the same things. So a coach or a therapist can help you have this safe space where you can be super stupid, be silly, say things that might come across as if you're a hateful person or whatever it is you just want to express. And a coach or a therapist are never going to judge you. We're just going to say, okay, but why? We're going to look at it, and have you seen this pattern? Have you seen, like, sometimes I literally feel like I'm sitting, on Zoom and my client is talking to me, and if I can almost see them punching themselves in the head, and a coach will go like, have you noticed this hand you're punching yourself in the head? Have you seen this? And they're like, oh no, I hadn't actually. Right, okay. And they put it down. That is literally what we're doing, but with their thoughts. And sometimes we really laugh.
Well, after being a veterinarian and a father of 3 daughters, and married for 30 years, I've gone from, punching myself in the head to trying to just punch my head to a wall sometimes.
You got 3 daughters. You know what I mean about the necklaces then.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And especially being in your 50s, you got to go find the reading glasses, because there's no way in heck you're going to be able to, you could see that.
Right.
And if you don't have reading glasses yet, just wait. It comes overnight and you think it'll never happen. And it does.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the listeners the best story? The best result you've had of a coach, being a coach?
Like a client?
Yeah.
So the best result I have is, I have a few, but the best result I've had is probably a vet that came to me. She booked me she paid and she booked the first session after we had our first consult, and just before we started, she started having panic attacks. So literally the week before we started together, she fell out of bed in the morning and she would just lie for half an hour paralyzed on the floor. And then her husband demanded that she should go to the doctors because she still was not seeing a doctor. She went to doctors. She ended up with 8 months sick leave from the clinic. And we were coaching her, we were just trying to bring her back to neutral, right? And then it was like, oh, I'll leave clinic and then I'll just become, a commercial or something like for a pharmaceutical. And I remember seeing her, she had an interview with some pharmaceutical company, and her whole body language is just like, I hate this idea. So I just told her, I said, like, you could do whatever you want, but your whole body language is telling me you hate this idea. And that was such a relief when she expressed that. And she set up her own business. And she's just got, so she's not actually not a small animal vet, she's a horse vet. She's just bought herself a brand new truck. She's got X-ray equipment, and she's now having to turn away ideal clients because she's so popular and doing extremely well.
Does that give you fulfillment?
It does a lot. Yeah. It does. I love it. I just love it. Yeah.
So
it's really
I was
nice.
right when I said you're doing this to find that fulfillment piece like that.
Yeah, definitely. But this is what I'm talking about, because now, if I help 10 vets, how many animals is that going to save long term, right? So for me, saving, 1 night of animals, it's, I can do much more as a coach.
Last question for you. What's the one irreplaceable truth that you wish that every veterinarian would carry with them?
One truth. You can't fix them all.
Yeah. You can't fix them all.
You can't fix them all.
I was going to go back to strangers coming into your life.
Yeah.
I love that one. I love that one. Yeah. So if anyone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do it?
So I have a podcast called the Overwhelmed Vet Podcast, which I talk about like we talked today. So that's a lot of free resources there. They can reach me on social media. So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. as Gunila Pedersen or Gunila Life Coach. And I have a free resource. I have a free PDF that they can download. I have it in my show notes, and also they can catch it on social media. A free PDF, which is like the first steps I would take, like to get you unstuck and to start feeling better in VetMed.
And just for our listeners, I will also put that on our socials as well, that free PDF for download, because this is something that I take seriously. I've put my whole second career into researching these issues. And I believe it's something that burnout is not the end. We just got to get back to neutral, create some boundaries, and realize that it is a day by day, step by step practice, and it's not something that we're going to correct immediately. Thanks. Gunila, I want to say thank you for being here today. Thank you for talking to me. Thank you for the comparison. Obviously, you're dealing with the same things in Europe as we are over here. And I think that's, I don't want to say it's wonderful to hear, but at least it's good to hear that it's just not us here in North America that are having this issue. And to all our listeners out there, I want to say thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll catch you next time here on Irreplaceable Truths.